me alone. So that happened. She lingered around the kitchen for a while before leaving again for her sister's house. The girls got home about a half hour later and knew something had happened. Hard to hide it, but I wasn't ready to talk about anything and don't think they need to know about this, do they? The two youngest have been doing much better and I don't want to hinder their progress, and telling my oldest about this would just add more fuel to her fire, which I also don't want. I hate this so much, I hate it. I should have held it together, I should have just given my WW the cold shoulder and walked right past her. I don't know. Now thinking back, it feels like she was just trying to start a conversation about her affair but didn't know how, and obviously didn't get very far because I exploded. I've started to actually worry about her. I know many of you will criticize me for this, but I don't want her to come to any harm. She's been isolated and alone with her thoughts, with nearly everyone turning their back on her. You can say she deserves it and that's true, but she's still a human being and the mother of my kids. What a setback for me, really disappointed in myself. Sorry for another long rant, I called my brother and ranted to him too. Man, I'll try to start again Monday. I'm only human, it actually felt good to vent on her, but now of course the regret is hitting me. Should I text my wife or just leave it be? I'm such a mess, but thanks for listening, thanks for offering me the support I need to get through all of this, and thank you for all of the advice in the midst of the chaos. We have all started therapy, so that's something, but this is so incredibly hard, just so hard. Update 6, I know many of you have reached out to me, and I do appreciate the concern. Most of you are correct, things aren't great and I haven't had the chance to get online at all. Wanted to maybe take a break from the internet, but this week has me backpedaling horribly. It's just been awful. Wife hasn't really left me alone all week, overly nice and continually apologizing for her affair, sobbing and then smothering me. Knocking on my door at night wanting to talk. I've ignored her some, but talked when I was in the mood. I finally snapped at her Wednesday night telling her to leave me alone, then last night it happened. Just over a month since my soon-to-be ex-wife came back home after her affair blew up, and now as things have entered this uncomfortable cohabitating routine, she came into my room after the girls went to bed and asked to talk with me in private. Differently than she'd been approaching me all week. I fought it at first, but eventually we actually went to the garage and sat in my car so as not to make the mistake of confrontation in front of the kids again. This is lengthy, apologies. She told me everything according to her. We were out there for almost 3 hours. I don't know how much to share. I was up all night, listened to her sobbing again for several hours, couldn't sleep. I cried too, then I'd get super angry and have to resist going in to scream at her, then cry, then anger, and on and on. Forgive me if I take a day or so to respond to anyone, but I need to get this off my chest and then try to sleep. It hasn't helped having my WW constantly apologizing and begging me for another chance all evening tonight too. Had to leave for a few hours just to get away from her, it is just so painful to be around her. Anyway, she was introduced to her AP by her sister well before COVID, dating back about 5 years. Apparently with zero romantic intentions, but he was a higher up at a company she wanted to work for, and currently does, and he gave her an in. So her desire to change jobs was not based on her affair, but once she did change jobs obviously she had extra incentive. Once she got the job, AP began flirting with her. Started out as texting, then pictures and more texting, then became physical just before COVID hit. She confessed to her sister and wanted to come clean to me then, but decided to bury it and say nothing of course. Wife said she went NC with her AP soon after, but as lockdowns and restrictions were lifted he reached back out to her and she resumed talking to him until the physical side to the affair started up again once businesses went back to work. She claims to have ended the affair a couple of times out of guilt, but kept going back to him. So it never ended essentially. She actually included a lot of details, had a 5-page packet of handwritten notes of her affair timeline, read off the entire thing answering questions along the way. She lied about weekend trips with the girls, she lied about traveling for work, she lied about traffic jams, about issues with her parents, about shopping trips, etc. Just as I suspected, and the list was extensive. So many lies that I just trusted her every word, never questioned anything, but they were just a front to be with him. Hearing it all, it just made me feel worse, everyone was correct about that. But her affection never really dipped while all of this was going on, she never got distant like I read so often. Intimacy did change, but not enough to where I'd see red flags. Anyway, she admits falling in love with AP and wanting a life with him. He was older, divorced/single, and promised her expensive things, vacations, and all the things he could dote on her with. She started fantasizing about escaping her responsibilities with the family and claimed the thrill of being with him as too much to resist, talked about how bored she got with the daily routines of family life. She was incredibly candid, very emotional and seemingly honest. I lost my composure and began crying midway through. It hurt to hear it all as you'd expect. Of course, once she was finished with her confession, she told me how much she loved me and always has, and that she's willing to do everything to try and save the marriage. A lot of you predicted this would happen. But it all just seems so disingenuous to me, like it was rehearsed. I've been with this woman for well over half my life, and I can just tell when she's full of crap. Maybe I'm wrong, guess it doesn't matter. But I composed myself better than last week, still got angry and said a few not so nice things, including getting a jab in about how her AP was seeing multiple women and she was just one of many that he was willing to toss aside. That seemed to really upset her. A million things have gone through my brain when thinking about this moment when she'd finally confess. All the one-liners I might throw at her, or things I could say to hurt her back. Hundreds of responses that I couldn't think of in the emotional moment the other night, but one thing I knew I would ask, and that was if AP was still alive and she had to choose between him and me, who would she choose? She hesitated and then mumbled, "That's not fair." I pressed the issue and then she eventually said she'd of course pick me. My response was that her hesitation was the reason I was divorcing her, because she was lying again. She started sobbing and that was the last she spoke. We sat in the car a while, she just kept sobbing, but I was tired so I just told her that we're divorcing, and we owe it to the girls to get along in a civil way, to be great parents and be present in their lives. I also added that after all the pain she'd put me through, I hoped she was a good enough person to divorce fairly/amicably, that would prove she actually loved me. The last thing I said to her, I stole from somewhere else online. Please understand that I'm not a petty person, and I did not purposely want to cause her pain. It just seemed a fitting end to it all, but I did 100% mean what I said and did. I leaned over and kissed her on the forehead and told her that I would have loved her forever, then got out of the car and went to bed. That was it. Of course I didn't sleep last night and here I am unable to sleep once again tonight. Don't know what happens now. Her opportunity to contest the divorce has come and gone, so I guess that's one good thing, but I haven't talked to my lawyer yet. I find myself crying again and sinking back into those depression/anger phases. It was very hard hearing everything last night, and in reality I could have done without it all, now that I know. She could have lied and made it all up too, who knows, but it seemed to fit perfectly with everything I'd put together in the past month. So that's it for now. This is just never ending, it seems. I have a few good days, start feeling strong again, and then something else happens. It feels like it's been months and yet only days at the same time, but I'm going to try and sleep. Imagine. The love of your life, the only woman you've ever loved, ever kissed, tells you she cheated on you for over 4 years because she was bored. Didn't fall out of love, didn't grow apart, didn't have any relationship issues or dead bedroom, nothing like that. Just because she was bored. Don't know if that makes it worse or better. Thanks for reading and helping along the way. Bad couple of nights, very bad.